This week we're talking about the immune system, and there's two basic types of defense in your immune system. The first, and the one we're going to focus on this week, is called innate immunity, and it's cells that just defend your body from anything that doesn't belong. So a wide range of things, but it's not very specific. Next week we'll talk about acquired immunity, which is what you need when you're fighting very specific things and when you're fighting things that you've already been exposed to before. So the first part of your innate immune system is your just barriers. Your skin, if you remember way back to the beginning of the year, it's cells that are really packed in tightly together. They're waterproof. All these microbes, these pathogens, they live in water. And so if water can't get through, bacteria can't get through. There's glands in your skin. Sebaceous glands secrete oil that traps the bacteria or the viruses. Sweat glands release kind of an acidic fluid that can harm them. And then in the places where you don't have skin, basically your openings, you have mucous membranes. So you have living cells. They're not keratinized and waterproof, but they secrete mucus that's going to trap these microbes in just this thick fluid. And then in that fluid, you have these things called lysozymes, which are little enzymes that will break apart anything that's trapped in the mucus. All right. For all your other defenses inside your body, your defense cells need a way to identify who belongs and who doesn't. And so that comes down to antigens. And hopefully last week you learned that antigens are little markers that essentially identify whether or not you belong in the body. And so if a white blood cell comes across a cell that has self markers, these MHC things, then, go about your business. If they don't have the right markers, then they're going to be a problem. And so we're going to get an immune response. Now, it doesn't recognize what kind of bacterium this is or anything specific about it. It just knows you don't belong. This is going to be a problem. So the main protectors as far as cells go are your phagocytes. And these are white blood cells that literally eat pathogens, break them down, and poop out their parts. So they're attracted to these bacteria by what's called chemotaxis. They're moving towards specific chemicals, and that can be released by the bacterium or by cells that are going to, they're kind of calling for help. We'll get to them later. So then they're going to ingest the bacteria. They're going to essentially eat it. The bacteria is going to get packaged in this little membrane inside, and it's going to fuse with a lysosome that breaks things apart. And so our bacterium gets broken into bacterial parts, and then those get expelled. So it basically gets digested. So there's 4 types of phagocytes. Neutrophils are the most common. Basically, they eat things, they kill it, and then they die themselves. Macrophages, phage means to eat. So phagocytes are eating cells. Macrophages are big eaters. So they can eat more things, and they live longer, and they typically hang out in your spleen or your lymph nodes and kill things that get brought to them. Eosinophils are not technically phagocytes. They don't eat things, but they attach on. If you get infected with multicellular parasites, like worms, things like that, then they'll come up next to them and release enzymes that basically poke holes in the worms. And then dendritic cells are phagocytes. They eat the little bacteria, but instead of getting rid of all the parts, they're going to use those parts to stimulate acquired immunity, your T cells and your B cells that we're going to get to next week.